Alex Answer here, going to be doing an update on the quinoa garden. Got some exciting things to show you. So this garden has been growing for well over a month. It's a test crop. I wanted to see if it would grow in the manner that I grew it, in the way that I just, about a month ago, about 5 weeks, spread about a pound of seed that I got from whitemountainfarm.com. They grow quinoa in Mosca, Colorado, which is about an hour and a half from here. It's the only place in America where quinoa is grown on an industrial level. Otherwise, it all comes from Peru and Bolivia. So this was a test crop, and so far I would say it's successful because what I'm about to show you is the quinoa seed. Quinoa is not a grain, it is a seed. It contains all 9 essential amino acids, making it a complete protein. It's perfect for vegans and vegetarians. Some people aren't very familiar with it, or they have trouble pronouncing it, so they don't investigate it much. But once people get beyond that barrier and they actually try it, it can be bland without flavoring, but I don't mind. A little soy sauce, a little Bragg's. It's a lot more nutritious than white rice. And if there was only one food to store, and if there was only one food to grow, I'll tell you what, I believe it's quinoa. What I want to show is the purple coloring here on the stem, as well as get a better shot of the head. Colorado's been in a drought for some time, but this is a crop that can grow in a drought-stricken region. But Colorado has seen a lot more rain in the last year. Meanwhile, on the West Coast in Oregon, Washington, California, they've seen significantly less rain. There are more counties that have declared a drought emergency. Well, what I can tell you about this garden is that this is not a garden that's been watered daily. It's only received rain that, there's been a few storms that have come through and dropped a little moisture. It may here in the next hour. But we've had days without rain where it's just been hot sunshine. And we're at an elevation, by the way, of 6,000 feet. Quinoa does grow better at this elevation. There is a parallel in some of the environmental factors of the Andes mountain range, where the Incans, for example, a long time ago, grew quinoa as their staple before their empire fell and before the Spanish banned the cultivation of quinoa. Believe it or not, they were forced to only grow potatoes and wheat. So there is an ancient history to quinoa and it's sustaining civilizations and empires. And this is a food that a community can grow to be completely self-sustaining, to stay alive, because of the amount of protein that is within it. There's a supply and demand issue with quinoa. It's very popular at health food stores across America, but it's getting more expensive for the people of Bolivia to afford it, for people in Peru, because still it is predominantly imported from foreign countries, but there's a huge demand for it. That means the market for quinoa growing, say in Colorado or other places where it's been shown to grow, it's a market that has a lot more potential. So step 1 was awareness of quinoa as a superfood, but growing it here in the United States, that's another level. Some people are interested in crops where they can get a lot. And, quinoa, you have to grow a lot of it. What I've read is 10 plants can yield 1 pound. And so some people see it as worth it. Some people don't see it as worth it or profitable. But for a crop that can sustain you and perhaps a small community, and perhaps, let me show you over here. Let's say there were a number of people living off the grid, sharing some property and sharing some space. And they were, say, maintaining a quinoa garden around this space here, about an acre. And they were storing that food. And quinoa does store for several years. That is a way that a community can sustain itself. And history has shown that the Incan Empire did sustain itself through the cultivation of quinoa until the conquering Spanish banned its cultivation. In less than a year, the empire was no more. And I'm sure there were other factors that led to the downfall of that civilization. Here in this particular moment in time where there's concerns about the downfall of this current civilization, I am simply just reintroducing this information about quinoa. It's not just a superfood you can find. It's something you can grow. And in places in America there's not a lot of water. It is still land that is capable of producing a large yield from a quinoa crop. If it's large enough, you know, you got to do the basic work and maybe bring in some soil, doing some weeding. I added some mulch here. It cost me about $7 to go and get the bale of straw, and I'm glad I did it. Apparently there's a video called Return to Eden, or something to that effect, that talks about the importance of using mulch and wood chips, things of that nature, to protect the soil and retain the moisture when there is rain. And I want to show one more time the flowering process of the quinoa, because there weren't a lot of videos that I saw on YouTube that kind of showed the different stages of the quinoa growth. It's like they showed one video either when they planted it or at the very end. It's also nice to walk through here. Quinoa came about from the Incas domesticating weeds like lamb's quarter and other things. So there's a reason why it grows naturally without a lot of water in certain environments. I'm going to do some photography as well and take some pictures, some detailed pictures. Because in all 35 years of my life, this is the first time that I'm actually, you know, staying somewhere long enough to actually see a garden come to fruition. And this is probably one of the most important gardens at this time and place to, in my opinion, to cultivate. That's all from now. We'll show you more next time as this gets a little bit taller. I would say the height that we're at right now is probably on this one 15 to 16 inches. And we'll see how high it gets.